The ritual had become a legendary tale, circulating among young people. According to the story, it was said that those who performed this ritual experienced terrifying events in their homes. It was claimed that specific items placed on the table were used to summon spirits. It was believed that they could communicate with the summoned spirits and obtain information from them. To call forth spirits, young people would gather together and try to make fear into something fun. This legend piqued the curiosity of a group of friends. They also decided to try this ritual. They made a plan and agreed to meet at their house one night, try to communicate with spirits. Unaware of what awaited them, the young people gathered in their living room one evening, thinking it would be fun and that they would laugh and have a good time together. They placed the specific items on the table and began performing the ritual. The ritual was performed on a quiet table illuminated by candles. The young people placed their hands on the table, closed their eyes, and began repeating the same words together, trying to make their voices heard and summon a spirit that would respond to their calls. At first, nothing happened, and the young people considered giving up on what they were doing, finding it quite amusing. However, they continued to repeat the ritual's words, and as they did, it seemed like something was starting to change. They began shouting the words louder and louder. But as the ritual progressed, excitement turned into unease for the young people. It felt like something was disturbing them. Suddenly, there were loud noises. The door moved. A strange gust of wind came from outside, and the candles started to extinguish, filling the room with a chilling coldness. They looked at each other, holding hands tightly, and started scanning their surroundings with anxious eyes, starting to feel a slight fear. The candles suddenly went out and then lit up again. The hearts of the young people started racing, and they looked at each other with worried eyes. They immediately decided to end the ritual, but it was too late. What they wanted to summon had arrived. They couldn't see it, but they could feel its presence. Suddenly, they saw the objects on the table moving. It was the moment they realized they had fallen into a terrifying story. The objects on the table started moving on their own. Chairs toppled over, plates shattered, books flew through the air. They began screaming for help. One of them ran to the door to try and open it, but it wouldn't budge. Another ran to the window, but it seemed as if there was no window in the room. They approached each other, fear in their eyes, not knowing what to do, and decided to stand side by side. In fear, the young ones tried to get up and run away from the table, but a force prevented them from moving. A strange darkness had taken over the room, and their screams echoed into the void. How was this possible? What had they summoned with their words? They had no answers. A voice emerged from the midst of the other sounds, and a pair of red eyes appeared. Extending its hand towards the young ones, they tried to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. They leaned against the wall, watching as the presence approached them. They were frozen in fear. These terrifying moments lasted for hours. The young ones, who had wanted to have fun, were now in the midst of a nightmare and couldn't predict what to do. Even if they screamed, there was no one to hear their voices. A voice echoed, saying blood. They understood this, and the voice repeated blood again, and a knife appeared at their feet. What were they going to do? Fear and regret filled their eyes. The voice repeated blood once more. One of their friends said, "We must spill our blood," and took the knife from the ground. They cut the tip of their finger and let the blood drip. The voice said blood again, but this time it was a bit calmer. The other friend did the same, and as the blood flowed, the voice started to fade away. The others repeated the same actions. The young ones, trapped in their homes, were desperately fighting against the darkness. Eventually, the ritual came to an end, and silence filled the room. Everything started to return to normal, and they took a relieved breath. However, from that day on, the lives of the young ones were never the same. Strange events started happening in their homes. Footsteps could be heard at night, and shadows were seen moving. They began having terrifying nightmares, and felt as if spirits were following them. It was as if they had bound themselves to these consequences with the blood ritual they had performed. The young ones had to live with the consequences of this terrifying story. Their homes, once peaceful places, had now turned into dark mazes. The ritual had forever changed their lives, and nothing would ever be the same again. The result of a small amusement had brought them heavy consequences. Sometimes every word should not be uttered randomly into the void, as its consequences might lead you to a blood bond.